There's definitely an art scene in Staten Island. Don't be fooled by mainstream media. Staten Island has little pockets of art, creative people, new businesses. Say your name and title, and I'll do mine.
All right. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Bennett, the Executive Director at Staten Island Arts.
And I'm Jenna Mimoso, Deputy Director.
And today we're going to be taking you on a tour of some of our favorite locations and businesses on the North Shore of Staten Island,
highlighting the connection between art, commerce, and culture. Here we are at Everything Goes Book Cafe, where literally everything goes. You can find music, you can find art, you can find food, you can find it all here at Everything Goes. This place is like the closest to New Orleans in New York. They've made their own library here, people donate books, and they're educating the community around them, which is very important. And now I'm in my living room here at ETG.
I think I'm gonna buy this one. I think I found a winner. Jane Pitney.
It says, kids, you need an adult if you want to see how this works.
So welcome to Staten Island Makerspace. This is a place that's at the intersection of old traditions and new artistic practices, and it's a place where everybody can find everyone else in the Staten Island art community. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about the Makerspace members who are operating their own small businesses out of Makerspace?
Michael Ardito, he runs a company called Hometown Type, and he restores and resells typewriters. So it's kind of magical in a way.
I've noticed that his space has grown.
Yes.
And I hope that that's because his business is growing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is actually one of the last typewriter repair shops in New York.
Wow.
And he's right here in Makerspace.
Here we are at Flagship Brewery, the renaissance of brew culture on Staten Island.
The way this place looks now has a lot to do with how the community wanted it to be. A lot of the stuff you see like this flag those are by people that just hang out here. They just did that one day, you know.
There's an art scene here. He just said it. We're here. We're all here.
And I think that's what makes a community or a neighborhood attractive to just be around or live or open a business. That's what might get people to this neighborhood for the first time. That's what people that frequent this neighborhood, I think, love about it, and we just want to be somewhere in there.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, Julia.
Hello. Hi.
Oh my God, Julia looks amazing.
Thank you. It goes all the way to the back, so if you, so.
You did such a beautiful job setting this up. Am I spelling Jasmine?
Yeah, Jasmine.
Okay.
That was a great guess. Everyone just wonders like, oh, what's that smell when we come in? And I'm like, Jasmine, but you're the first person to figure it out what it was.
So when people drive down Bay Street and they come into the Bay Street corridor, if they're coming from the Verrazano Bridge, one of the first things that they see as they enter the Bay Street corridor is the mural of elephants, the beautiful golden doors that are the doors of your family's restaurant, La Caruana.
You know, a lot of people doesn't really come down to Bay Street as often, but once we did the murals and the golden door, people started to notice like, oh, I should go in there.
Well, and once people pass by it, they will never forget it.
And they'll never forget, and they try to come back.
The family that owns La Caruana was looking for a way to share its cultural heritage with the rest of the world. And so the young daughter of the restaurant owner founded the museum, which you can now visit.
So here we are at Hypnotronic Comics, steps away from the Staten Island Ferry Terminal. And a large part of their business is supporting local makers and creators that work here on Staten Island.
This place is a mecca for anybody creative in the area. We're promoting them, and they tell everybody our stuff is available at Hypnotronic Comics.
Right.
So it's a cross-promotion deal. It's great.
Right. That's a local artist up there on your wall.
Yes, Santo. He's our local artist. We've sold a few of his pieces before.
This is from an artist, Melissa Prieb. She makes jewelry with comic books, and these are some of the things that she brings in. She also makes frames, and we sold out of those because they're awesome, so I got to get some more of those in.
I think what we've done is we've just basically have this great support system that crosses not only through art and culture, but through commerce as well.
And we do that by supporting our local independently owned businesses, which are often owned by artists.
He's got free posters for us.
Graduated from Hypnotronic Comics.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first professional development panel for the Downtown Film Festival. Thank you very much for tuning in to watch this. And I think you're in for a treat for a really, really great presentation. Wanted to thank everyone for all your participation and love for the Downtown Film Festival. And don't forget to go to our website and make sure that you are doing everything that we can to be able to help and support all of our local partners and businesses in the Bay Street corridor. It's really the Bay Street corridor and the grant funding from the Neighborhood 360 program that's made this entire thing possible. So thank you very much for tuning in and for supporting. Joining us today is Venus Anderson, who is the program director for the Made in New York PA training program. And Venus is going to tell us all about what's happening over there. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And thank you, Staten Island Arts, for having me today. As he said, my name is Venus Anderson. I'm the program director for the Made in New York Production Assistant Training Program. And I just want to share with you guys a small little presentation that I put together about our program and also our post-production training program, which is a little bit newer for all of you budding editors out there. We do have a training program that is available as well. So a little bit about myself. I am from Staten Island, born and raised. In 2008, I've always been interested in working in TV and film. I'm very passionate about, working in television in some capacity. I always knew I didn't want to be an actor or a director, and I knew something was out there that was for me. So a friend of mine who lives in LA told me about a program that she did that was available to her in 2006. So around late 2007, I was looking into training programs, and in 2008, I got accepted into the PA training program. So I started working as a PA. I worked on everything from the Taking of Pelham 123 remake with Denzel Washington. I worked on a bunch of commercials. I worked on a few reality shows, including Project Runway and America's Next Top Model, and had great times and good fun. And it was a lot of hard work. I also worked as a production coordinator on various live events and industry events. And then in 2011, I decided to take a full-time job with the program. There was an opening at the program. The program coordinator was leaving, and I thought it was the best way for me to be able to kind of step away from set and have normal hours. And I had no idea in 2011 that the job was going to turn into so much more of a job, and it became a career for me. So fast forward to 2015, our former program director left the organization, and I became the program director. And here we are in 2020, and almost 900 participants later, I am the head of the program. I have a staff of 3, and we train people throughout the year. So we'll get a little bit more into that. So first of all, the Made in New York Production Assistant Program is under an organization called Brooklyn Workforce Innovations. It's a nonprofit workforce development organization that offers skills training, job placement, and career support for low-income New Yorkers. We basically help train people get into career tracks. I know a lot of organizations, they give you a certificate and they send you on your way, but as a former participant, I know for sure that this program works. Our program in itself is 5 weeks. It's 4 weeks of in-classroom training and 1 week of internships. It's kind of like a boot camp. You are learning everything you would probably learn in a college and more within 4 weeks of sitting in a classroom. We teach you about all the positions on set. Most people come into it saying, oh, I want to be a director or a camera person or a writer, but there's just so many other positions. If you look at the credits at the end of a film or a TV show, you see, the art director, the props department, the grips, and everybody's always like, what is a grip? And those are like the very finite things that we teach you in this program. We also take our participants on field trips to various movie studios so they can see what the working environment is like. Some people are, usually like, oh my gosh, are we going to see this famous Hollywood actor or, go to our favorite TV shows and take pictures? But no, we try to keep people grounded in the realistic thing that it's work. It's work, it's long hours, 12, 16 hours a day sometimes. Of working, and you're starting from the ground up as a production assistant. We also help people with a box shoot. We do our own little film shoot for the students so that they see how it is working out on the streets. The program pretty much connects a diverse set of people I know over the years the industry has had a lot of trouble with diversity, the Oscars and everything like that. So the program gives everyone a chance. We're looking for New Yorkers. We would love the industry in New York to reflect the streets of New York City in terms of the people who live in these communities, because these films and these TV shows are filming in people's communities, whether you're in Staten Island or you're in Brooklyn or you're in Harlem. People in the public like to connect with people who are similar to them, who look like them, who kind of have the whole vibe like them. So it's easy for us to connect New Yorkers with other New Yorkers in this industry. We usually seek people who are low income. You have to have full-time availability to be in the program because these are long hours, so it's very demanding. Not only is the work demanding, but the class is demanding. Our class is from 7:30 in the morning sometimes to like 6 p.m. and we're pretty flexible, but it's Monday through Friday. So we expect you to have full-time availability. And then after class, we connect people with jobs for 2 years. You know, we teach you and train you a lot in the class on how to get your own work, but we're also there to help you connect with employers in the TV and film industry. Our requirements are that you're a New York City resident. You can live in one of the 5 boroughs. Please don't live in New Jersey or Long Island and try to get in, because it's not going to happen. You also have to be 18 and older. So if this opportunity is not necessarily for you, maybe you have a sibling or a cousin or a friend who might be interested in TV and film, that you can connect them with us. And also the biggest thing usually that gets people is you have to have a driver's license. Because as a production assistant, 9 times out of 10, you're expected to drive the crew, drive the actors, drive the directors, whomever it may be on the set, you may be asked to drive. So we want to make sure that our trainees are equipped with a driver's license. It can be from out of state, but you do have to have a valid driver's license. And what BWI did some years ago was they started a program called New York Drives, and it connects people with a different workforce development training to help people get their driver's license. And that particular program is free of cost. Of course, it's an application process as well as our program. But for a lot of people who can't afford to get road test lessons and things like that, that program is available to people. So upon graduating, we do have a 24-hour hiring hotline. So there's always jobs rolling in. I know post-COVID, we really don't know where we're going to be, but hopefully we get back to where we were before March 13th. At that point, we had over 70 TV shows filming and lots of music videos and commercials and films and things like that. So there was a lot of work. I believe there are 130,000 people who work in the TV and film industry in New York City. And about 900 of them have gone through our program. So our trainees are trained and energized and ready to work on set, and they come with experience. After doing the 4 to 5 weeks of training, our graduates have about 3 months worth of experience under their belts from all the work that we do with them in the classroom. And also we promote diversity behind the camera. 92% of our participants are people of color. There's no limit to where you come from or what background you're from. We just want people who are passionate and who are ready to work. Also, I wanted to introduce our post-production training program, which has been around for about 2.5 years now. For those who are looking to be in the editing field and don't like being outside for 12 to 16 hours a day. That's also a 5-week training program, and you work with industry leading software. You also get the same connections like you do in Made in New York, and it's 2 weeks of job training assistance. And also the PA training program has kind of served as a pipeline. Once you go through our program, you're eligible to apply for that program as well if you have an interest in going into the post-production side. So these are just some of the shows that some of our grads have recently worked on, including the feature film In the Heights, which hopefully comes out later this year. Very proud of the work that our participants have gone through to work on. And of course, there are dozens of other shows that they've been connected with. And here are some of the production companies that our graduates have worked with, including Radical Media, the Association of Commercial Producers, Technicolor, and how to apply. So basically, I left the website on here, and I'll send it to Staten Island Arts if you are interested in applying. It is a direct link to our calendar. Our info sessions are every Monday, except for holidays, at 1 p.m. Like I said, our training facility is in Brooklyn, and we are located at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Because of COVID-19, we have transformed ourselves like everyone else pretty much, and we are doing virtual Zoom info sessions. So no need to worry about having to appear in person. Our calendar is listed on there. Any updates, we update in real time about our info session. So you'll learn more about the program, and then at that time, if you're interested, you can apply. So yeah, we're just looking forward to having more New Yorkers be trained in the industry, and hopefully more Staten Islanders to come. My thing when I was a participant, there weren't really many Staten Island folks who came before me, or even many who came after me. I want to say it's maybe 3% of all the graduates who've gone through Made in New York who have come from Staten Island. So it makes me happy, and it makes me proud to see people from the island getting this access to free training. And it's totally free. There are no, catches. There are no services. You don't have to pay into anything. We are not a placement agency where we take a percentage of your pay or anything like that. We're just interested in helping and training New Yorkers through workforce development.
That's fantastic. And, I've spent many years working with producers and everything in the industry, and I've had the great opportunity of meeting a lot of the people who have graduated from the program, and everything you said is absolutely true. Like they're ready to work on day one, and they show up with some real life experience, which is really incredibly valuable.
Yes. And yeah, that's something we try to instill in our participants in the class. Showing up on time is more important than probably anything else. And, surprisingly, once they get out there and they come back and they talk to us, or they want to talk to, the newbies in the class, and they're just like, people just show up late and then they get fired. And, we just had to show up. And I said, that's 8 out of 10 times. That's most of the battle, just showing up and then doing the work. And, we've seen people go from, I've been here long enough where I've seen people go from participant to PA to now different, departments, whether or not they want to be in the art department or the locations department or the camera department. People have taken union exams, and this program has totally transformed people's lives. I know it's transformed my life in a way that I would not have imagined. So yeah, it's really a great program. I guess I'm a walking testimony of that.
I wondering if you could just take a couple of seconds for anyone out there who really isn't necessarily familiar with the terminology. If you could just go over real quickly what a PA actually is, and like what a life of a PA is like on set. And we can stick for, there's obviously going to be significant differences if you're doing scripted, non-scripted,
Right.
Things like that. So let's just stick with scripted television.
Right.
What does it mean to be a PA? What are the kind of the things you're going to be doing?
So generally, a PA is known as a production assistant. The job is in the title. You're on a production and you're assisting. There's not really a defined role, because sometimes you could be doing a little bit of everything. You are there to assist. You aren't there. You're not making the film. You're not making the show. You're not dressing the talent. You are there to assist. So on, say if you're a first day production assistant, you're going to show up on time. They're going to give you what they call a call time. So your call time could be 7 a.m. This is when your coordinator or your assistant director may require you to be in on the set. So you're going to show up on time. If they say 7 o'clock, you're going to be there at 6:45, the latest. You're going to go in there and just be available to do whatever you need to do. One thing I forgot to mention is that we teach our participants how to use the walkie-talkie, because that is the communication device. So you're going to grab your walkie. They'll have breakfast trucks there. They may even have a catering table. You may grab a little breakfast. That's why you want to get there early. Make sure you're energized because you may be on your feet for 12 plus hours a day, and anticipate that. There is no end time. They're going to tell you, you know, when the director yells, that's a wrap. That's that's when you're leaving. So your whole day has to be free. Now, as you're, you know, on a set, you may go to a studio. We're located right next door to Steiner Studios in Brooklyn. You may be in an interior set where you're in a studio where you're indoors filming. You may be helping the assistant director department or the production department, whether it's going on runs, meaning running errands and picking up supplies and things for the set. You may be helping wardrobe for the day, where they may need you to do some returns of, you know, wardrobe that the actors are not going to be using. You may be helping the camera department, whether or not it's, you know, you got to go out and buy rolls of tape for them. But you're not physically touching anything that goes into the set. You haven't gotten to that level yet. So you're just assisting. You have to anticipate running a lot of errands, possibly doing a lot of driving to get to where you need to be. You can't say, I got my Metro card. They need you to do things quick, fast, and in a hurry. And keeping in mind, still being safe while doing so. So you're just a everywhere kind of person. You have to be flexible. The stamina has to be there, but just know that this position is very entry level, and that unlike many career opportunities, you're not going to be stuck at this level forever, unless you're really terrible. But there are lots of opportunities to move up. As I had said in my presentation, you know, I've worked with people or worked with participants who've gone from, you know, going from production assistant, they were just present. Whoever needed assistance, they were there to help. So you kind of have to put yourself out there and be available to help on set. And like I said, it's long days. You know you did a good job when they call you back for the next day and the day after. And you may even become staff on a TV show where you're working on a show for 3 months to 9 months. This is a freelance environment. So it's not like a regular 9 to 5 where you know where you're going to be for the rest of your life for the next 20 to 30 years. You're on call, and you have to expect that you have to be there for production's needs, pretty much.
If you could also talk a little bit about the difference between doing this and then, you know, possibly going into an internship, right? Because there are many paths into the industry. And I think the thing that people are most familiar with is this concept of being an intern.
Right.
How is this different than an internship?
So interns, I find that most internships require college credit, you know, you to be in college, getting college credit. There are very few that still exist that'll pay you a stipend. And the ones that will accept you that don't require college or the stipend, they don't place you afterwards. You're just the intern 9 times out of 10. With our program, we're training you about every department. You're not just centered focus. So if you're an intern, like I interned in a casting office, and that was just it. It was just casting. I never touched the set. I never did anything else. It was a fabulous internship when I did it, but it was just casting. Whereas we can place you pretty much anywhere, and we encourage that to place you guys anywhere, so you get to know and get familiar. And we just have those connections. We've been around for 14 years now. We're pretty much a New York City household name in terms of production assistants. Even when people come from out of town, from LA, Atlanta, you know, overseas, they call the New York City Mayor's Office of TV and Film, and they say, hey, where do we find PAs? And our phone number is usually the first one that they give out, because we have a partnership with the Mayor's Office of TV and Film. So yeah, it's just a great network, a great first network. And not only that, when you're a participant in the class, we usually train about 20 people at a time. We enroll 85 per year. So it's a class of an average of 20 people. You're in a class with your peers, and your peers usually start off with the same level of experience, and those people become your first network. So upon graduating, you have 19 other connections aside from the 4 people who've trained you, and the industry professionals who come in and have spoken to you. They give out their emails. So you leave the class with at least 25 plus connections once you go out there.
And that's something that I have to say, it will get you further in the industry than anything, because it really is. People often say it's about who you know, and to a certain extent
Right.
it is, because you have that network and you work with people regularly. And so building that sort of production family, I think, is really important.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. I mean, you notice in production, after you start working a lot and you get more experience, that people work in teams. And
Yeah.
people usually hire the people that they know because they know their work ethic. They already know that they're going to get the job done. So once you become a part of a team, you no longer have to worry about, oh my gosh, where's my next job going to come from because I don't know anybody. The ball just kind of gets rolling once you start getting experience. And it doesn't really take a long time to get experience. Our participants, not only do they leave with those connections from us, but once they start getting on set, then one person turns into 12 contacts sometimes, where a friend of a friend told me about you, or they worked with you and I heard you were fantastic. It's really about your work ethic and how much you want to put into it. And like I said, it sounds glamorous. And, it's always great when I used to tell my family, oh, I work in TV and film. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you're working on what? And you did this with who? But it was like, I'm not having lunch with, Julia Roberts today. I'm not, I worked on a cell phone commercial with Brad Pitt one time. And it was like, oh my gosh, Brad Pitt is not writing the check. He's not paying you. It's still a job. It is still a job. And, it's just good to be realistic and knowing that you have these goals set up for yourself and that you're a part of something that's bigger than you. And not only that, our people on their downtime, they start learning things on set. I have participants who have graduated many years ago and now they work in camera and now they work on their own independent things because they know about the lens, they know how to pull focus, they know different things about lighting. And these are things that they learned on set that people are paying thousands of dollars to go to college for. And they avoided all of that because they got the experience working on set.
Yeah. It's that's all completely true. And learning different things and paying attention. And, I often joke with people that one of the guaranteed ways of getting invited back to a set is knowing how to coil cable properly. And watching someone, like if a grip sees you coiling cable properly, that's a great thing for them to see. There's definitely a right and wrong way to do it. So.
Right. That's a one-day job that just turned into 5 days.
Exactly. Because you know how to coil a cable.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about you. Like, what was your personal journey through the creative process? How did you start? Where was your beginning?
Well, for me, as I said, I'm from Staten Island. I went to McKee High School. I thought at one point I was really into like 3 different things. I was on a debate team in high school. I wanted to be a lawyer. I also love TV and film. I could sit here and watch TV all day. And then I really loved architecture. So I went to high school and I'm a certified draftsperson by trade, I guess. I've never really used it. But when I went to college, I was really more into the television side of things. So I majored in mass communication at Ohio State. And my roommate, who's now my best friend for life, she was also interested in the same thing. So we always had conversations about, things that we wanted to work on. I remember she had this like really cool internship where she was transcribing VHS cassettes. Like that's how far we go back. But yeah, it was all about, just wanting to get into the TV world. How do you do that? And upon graduation, it was very difficult because a lot of the internships required you to still be in school and get college credits at that time. So my best friend, moved to LA. She came across a program called Streetlights. And Streetlights is pretty much the equivalent to Made in New York. And did the 4 weeks of training and started working on a lot of commercials. And one day she called me and she's like, girl, I'm working on a Taco Bell commercial. I was like, that's so cool. What are you doing? And she started telling me about, the PA life and actually being out there. And I was like, wow, that is really something that I'm trying to do with my life. And I knew for myself, I didn't want to direct, I didn't want to write, and I didn't want to act. But I knew there was something out there for me in production. I just didn't know what, and I had to learn more. And going to college, you learn a lot about TV theory and research, and it's nothing really hands-on. You may work in like a small broadcast studio, but it's not like, who's making these HBO things? Who's making these things out in the street? Who's filming these movies? And those are things that are not taught in the institutions. So I took it upon myself to do the research, and that's how I came across Made in New York. And I would say life changing. And the people that I was in class with, there were 16 of us. I would say about 12 of us are still working in the industry in some capacity. One of my classmates, he was from South Korea originally. He moved back to South Korea, and he's producing. He's a commercial producer there. I have another classmate. She was from the Upper West Side, and she started her own TV and film nonprofit in South Africa. She's not even from South Africa, but she turned her producing experience into something more. One of my really good friends from my class, she's a script supervisor where she's, taking notes, and we never thought that, this program and being PAs would turn into so much more than that. But we stuck with it. It's been 12 years now. And, all of us have moved up in some capacity, and we're doing more than just PAing. You don't want to be a PA for 12 years, hopefully. It's a great starting point, but every starting point has an end, and, you want to start moving along in the journey. And I'm just very proud of the people that went through the process with me, and that stuck with it. And, they're fulfilling their dreams as well.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're really good in this industry, you can actually move along fairly quickly.
Yes.
You don't have to be stuck in PA jobs for very long.
Right.
And again, it has to do with that work ethic, showing up, being willing to do things that aren't necessarily directly in your wheelhouse, and just being able to be there and step up. So you can move pretty quickly.
And what the industry gives you is that, there are people who, we get a lot of participants who are like, I want to be a writer, or, I want to be a director. And once they get familiar with those positions, and then they go on set and they see what that really is, a lot of the times it totally changes. I had this one participant, I'll never forget. He was about 6'5", very big guy, very, like a big teddy bear, lovable. He wanted to be a director. He wanted nothing more than to be a director. He is now in the wardrobe union because he would always, PA, he would always be a wardrobe PA. And it was kind of like he fell into that, but he wound up loving it. And there aren't very many men that are in the wardrobe union. And, he was just like, I think they like me because I'm big and I can do stuff and I can carry these racks and things like that. And now he's, making probably six figures doing wardrobe. And it's amazing to see his journey of, he was living at home with family, and now he's got his own place in Manhattan, and he's doing really well. And of course, that's not everybody's story. Of course, we do deal with people who have challenges. And sometimes this is not for them, to tell somebody hey, you got to work every day for 12 to 16-hour days, or even more than that sometimes. It takes a toll on people. Even for myself, I knew that I did not want to be on set for the rest of my life, because it is very rigorous. And, people have to be real with themselves. It's a great starting point. You get great connections. It's a great network. Maybe 3 to 5 years later, you may decide to branch out, but at least you have experience and you have a resume to go out there and seek other opportunities still within the industry, because there's just so many directions that people can go into. One of my classmates works for the MTA, or former classmates. He works for the MTA and their TV and film division. Like, we didn't even know that existed when we got into this program. And, there's maybe 5 people who work in that whole unit, to allow TV and film to work on the trains and the buses in the MTA system. So it's a pretty awesome job,
Yeah, with digital content everywhere and video content everywhere, it's so many different ways of doing it, and getting as much exposure as you possibly can, because working in the commercial world is very different than the scripted world, which is very different than non-scripted. They all, I mean, producing is producing, but
Right.
there are elements and things that, you may not like working in reality. Totally get it. Scripted may be your thing, or maybe you do like working commercials for 1 or 2 days at a time.
Right.
Intense work, but short-lived. So there are a lot of different ways of getting about doing it.
Right. I mean, it's good to just, as a PA, you have an opportunity to kind of dip your toe in everything, because at that point, you're not in a union or you're not in a higher level position where people expect you to be the producer. Once you're the producer, you're the producer. But as a PA, you can kind of transition and maneuver through different departments and different types of television or film or even documentaries. I know for myself, I did live events. So it was great, but once you start moving up, you're kind of in that world. So if you're a TV person, episodic TV that's like a Law and Order SVU or a Power or something like that, then that's where you're going to be. And that's where your connections are, a lot of them. And you move up kind of from there. So as a PA, the world is your oyster, and you should take advantage of all the opportunities that come with that.
What was your best day on set?
Oh, my best day. I had a lot of best days on set. I'm not gonna lie. I loved working on set because my feet were young back then. But just working with people. I'm a chatty patty. Um, I don't know. I would say working on America's Next Top Model was great. I was a team PA, which I worked under 4 producers, 2 associate producers, and 2 regular field producers. And their jobs were to produce the segments. And the segments at that point were to teach the contestants how to walk down the runway. They would have like a little thing. They called it a teach and then a challenge. So they would teach them how to walk, and then the challenge would be like the full runway walk down in front of an audience. And we're talking like 2008-ish. So I was still fairly new, and I already felt like I was great because I already had like a PA promotion. I was on the show like through the duration of their New York filming. And my whole thing was to coordinate the audience for the challenges. And it was just like, well, where do I find an audience? They want like 200 to 300 people to fill an audience for certain challenges. And what was great was that I'm from here. So I just called a lot of friends, called a lot of family members. They called their friends. They called, and, set up an RSVP list. And, they were my VIPs. They got to sit in the front. So, a few of my friends, they still recall that moment. And they're just like, remember when we were like on camera because of Venus and America's Next? And I'm like, you don't know how much blood, sweat, and tears that took to like put it together. But you guys were happy, and you guys, that was their moment too, to kind of partake in my job. So that was probably one of my favorite moments from working on set.
That's fantastic. That's a great story. And now that we have your favorite day on set, what was your most challenging day on set, and how did you get through it?
Let me tell you. So PAs are expected to drive. I didn't mention drive what, but at the time I used to drive a 2-door Honda Civic Coupe.
How was the box truck?
So exactly. So I went from that to becoming the queen of the 15-passenger vehicle. Now the 15-passenger vehicle is like, something you see the church camps kind of do. And it's usually like a Ford E350 kind of deal. And it has all the row seats in the back. And I just love driving that thing. You could get me on any PA job, and I would drive a minivan and I would drive the 15 pass. But I did not like driving the box truck. Now the box truck is like a U-Haul truck, it could be like 12 feet or something like that. And a friend of mine from the class, she was working on this film it was a low budget independent film. And I think I just wrapped the job, and I was just like, it was summertime. And I was like, you know what? I just want to take some days off. And she called me and she said, Venus, we're about to wrap this shoot. It's one more shooting day. The person who was driving the truck can't work today. Would you like to cover for them? And I was like, you know what? Because it's you and we're friends, and I know you're going to be stuck with most of the work. I'll come work and I'll get paid, whatever. So the whole premise of the job was me picking up a box truck in Brooklyn, driving it all the way up to Bear Mountain in a box truck, something I didn't like. And as soon as I got in the box truck, I felt that the brakes were kind of sketchy. And it was just like I had to stomp on the brakes every time that I had to brake. And, it was scary. But I had to do what I had to do, and I figured it out. I don't advise anybody like put themselves in harm's way, just to put that out there. But driving up to Bear Mountain, I got up there and I told the assistant director, I said, listen, something is wrong with this truck. And it's always good that you speak up, because, I would have been driving that truck back home. And they were like, you know what? We're going to send somebody to switch it out, and you'll drive a 15 pass with the crew back home. But so not only was driving the truck a nightmare up there, but it wound up being an 18-hour workday. Mind you, this was my original day off. Producers were yelling at other producers. It was just really bad. There was a scene where it was supposed to be dawn. We started in the evening, and we shot one page, and then on the next page was a dawn sequence, but it was 2:00 in the morning, and dawn was literally like 4 hours away. So they had me take talent back to the hotel. Talent got to sleep for like maybe a 2-3 hour nap. I got to sleep, but the rest of the crew did not. So when I came back, they were angry at me for being able to go off with it was just every turn, every which way was hard. The food was horrible. The crew was, they were very inexperienced, just not well organized. And I would say that was probably my worst experience working in production and that was my first 18-hour day ever.
Yeah. Those 18-hour days are rough.
Yeah. And then I still had to drive back, and I had to drop off people in the Bronx, bring the van back to a different location, and then still go home. So it wound up being more than an 18-hour day, because I still had to get home from Manhattan. So it was probably like 20 hours with no sleep.
That is rough. Well, right. But you made it through, and I think, you learned.
Definitely. And, that same friend, we're still friends, and she called me for other projects. She complained, everybody complained on that job. There was nothing much else we could do. It was like a 4-hour break in between of people outside getting bit by mosquitoes in Bear Mountain.
That does not sound like a fun day on set.
No, it was not. And it's something, it's a story that I tell my current students when they're in the class, and, you just work through adversity. And, I didn't quit. Some people may have not showed up to the next job because they would have thought that it would be as rough or as hard, but my next jobs after that were wonderful, and I worked with wonderful people. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing not only your story, but the story and passion for the Made in New York PA training program. I really cannot speak highly enough of the program. It's really fantastic, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, and thank you for the support, and hopefully we see some of you guys soon.
Yeah, so Staten Island, get out there, apply, represent. This is probably the best and easiest, and because it's free, cheapest way to get into it. And I can promise you will learn more in this 5-week training program than you're going to learn in an entire 3 semesters of interning. So please take advantage of this tremendous program.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to stop the recording now, because I'm